Welcome everyone, I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that all of the film has been watched and all of the grades are in, it's time for the Football Game Plan Scouting 2018 NFL Draft Prospect Preview. Before we get started with our prospect rankings, here's how we gather our grades and what they actually mean. First, we watch a minimum of 3 full games on a player, a prospect's best game, his worst game, and the best or intriguing matchup. And second, we grade on 15 key points specific to the position to equal 100 points in total. Now, here's what the grades that you'll see by a prospect's name will actually mean. Prospects that earn grades in the 90s graded out as future NFL All-Pros. Prospects in the 80s are considered future Pro Bowl players. Grades in the 70s represent solid NFL starters, and grades in the 60s are players that we believe are spot starters in the NFL. And if you notice, we don't use the word reserve or backups because we personally feel as though that there are no such thing as backups in the NFL, only starters in waiting. So without further ado, let's kick off our prospect rankings by taking a look at our top 10. So that's
Christian Kirk of Texas A&M graded out as my #1 split-end receiver in this draft class. His game is very similar to Odell Beckham Jr. when he came out of LSU. Power is an underrated element of Kirk's game, which is why, in my opinion, he can hold his own on the outside. He's also versatile enough to play anywhere on offense. Although he's explosive, he's a little tight-hip, but overall, he's a game breaker that still has upside to his game. He's strong at the catch point and plays a very physical game for a receiver. Tied for #1 is James Washington of Oklahoma State, who reminds me a lot of Chris Chambers in how he is able to pluck the ball out of the air with ease. He's also consistently able to win at the line of scrimmage, stack the defensive back, and show great acceleration in tracking the football. That makes him a deep threat more so than whatever his time speed ends up being. He's one of the more polished receivers in the nation and plays a lot bigger than his size. I'm a big fan of Michael Gallup's game. He's an above-average route runner who shows enough savvy to stack, lean, and also set up a defender. I also feel like his acceleration is vastly underrated. Gallup is good in close quarters as he's unafraid of taking a hit, and I like how he's willing to sacrifice for a reception. Over the course of watching this film, Isaac Bruce just kept popping up in my head. He's a smooth and consistent player that plays a pro game. Courtland Sutton is a good all-around receiver. He's essentially an X-only guy, but as he gets older, you can see him transitioning seamlessly to an inside F receiver. He's a build-up speed type of a guy that's not overly elusive, but he's able to overcome that and be a solid route runner as a result. He gets a clean release and is able to smoothly gear down to snap off a route. He's a very good football player that may not have the explosive traits, but he does have the other traits that you need to be a strong #1 option in an offense. I think J'Mon Moore was hindered a bit by the QB play at Missouri. He's up there with some of the best route runners in his class. His footwork is flawless, and he can always work himself open. He's criminally underrated as a receiver that'll end up being a better pro than collegiate. DJ Moore is an excellent receiver prospect. He has good, strong hands and excellent hand-eye coordination. He's not as elusive or shifty, but he'll break tackles with strength and speed. He's great on the outside and has the mean streak that you want to see in your wideouts. He's more Doug Baldwin than he is Steve Smith because of the lack of explosive speed, but he's still fast and quick enough to be a dependable #1 option in your passing game. At #7, I have Alton Tate out of Florida State. The 6'4", 225-pound Seminole has a ton of upside. For whatever reason, his career didn't afford him the opportunity to put up gaudy numbers. This year, the change at quarterback probably played a big role in that, as he was going to be expected to play with DeAndre Francois. What he does bring to the table is the ability to go up and snatch the ball out of the air and also from the defender. He's a very good athlete as well, showing the ability to contort his body to make a reception on a poorly thrown ball. He's not a side-to-side guy and isn't overly elusive, but he is a threat, especially inside the red zone, and he'll be fun to watch as a rookie. Now here is a look at the rest of the top 10. Steve Ishmael out of Syracuse was a super productive player for the Orange and has some DJ Moore-like game within his game and how he plays with a passion. Ashton Grant is an underrated sleeper coming from Division II Assumption College. They put out some tremendous athletes in the last 3 years, so keep an eye on him in training camp. Moving on to 11 through 17, and you see some big small college targets in Andre Price out of Lincoln of Pennsylvania, Ty Dennis of Minnesota State, and Jordan Gandy of Murray State. Both Price and Dennis are big guys that can really run. Speaking of can run, Deion Kane out of Clemson is a splashy playmaker that is still growing into the nuances of playing the position. Marcus Johnson of Slippery Rock is another one of my favorite prospects to watch. He can play any one of the receiver positions in addition to helping out on special teams as either a kickoff or punt returner. He has good lateral agility and acceleration to get downfield. Also, he's more than willing to play above the rim and pull down a reception if need be.
So that's a wrap for our 2018 FBGP Scouting Draft Prospect Preview. To see more of our individual scouting reports, follow us on Twitter at FBGP Scouting and bookmark the page footballgameplan.com/FBGP Scouting. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan, where you can get all of our scouting videos, mock drafts, and NFL draft prospect videos. And one more thing, subscribe to us on iTunes under Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find the Scout Team Podcast, where we interview multiple NFL draft prospects.